Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our March session on conversations on brain health. And what an important month this is as we shed light on bringing awareness to multiple sclerosis and neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder. My name is Catherine Kiefer. I am the Neuroscience Program Manager at Rush University Medical Center, as well as the co-founder, along with Dr. Augusto Miravalle, and president of the Brain Health Center of the Rockies, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. In honor of MS and NMOSD month, we wanted to dedicate our March program highlighting the impactful work of leading patient-focused organizations that dedicate to supporting individuals living with MS and NMOSD. We are fortunate to be joined by representatives from Multiple Sclerosis Association of America, MSAA, Can Do MS, the Sumaira Foundation, and all of them will shed light on some insight into the outstanding resources, education, research initiatives, and community programs that they provide. Tonight, we get to learn what each of these organizations have planned for 2026 and discover meaningful ways that you can get involved. In our typical vein for conversations on brain health, we want to make sure that this is interactive, so please feel free to pose any questions that you have for our speakers this evening in the chat box, and we will most definitely allow for those questions to be answered within this 1 hour time frame. For who we have joining us this evening, our featured speakers tonight are Alexis Klein, who will be joining us from MSAA. She has a master's in public health, and she is titled with Associate Vice President of Mission Delivery and Patient-Centered Research and Health Education, an important role. I have known Alexis now for several years, and I know that she's been there at MSAA for quite a long time, very actively involved. So glad to have her here with us. We have Rosalind Kalb, which I believe goes by Roz. So for tonight, I'm going to just address her by Roz. She is here joining us from Can Do MS, which is a nonprofit organization located in Avon, Colorado. And she is the lead senior program consultant. A little bit about Roz. She is a PhD and a clinical psychologist who has specialized in MS care and education for more than 40 years. She started her career at an MS comprehensive care center in New York City, then worked at the National MS Society for 16 years, and now serves as the lead senior program consultant at Can Do MS. So definitely somebody who has been focused on patient care for quite a long time. So glad to have Roz with us. One thing that I discovered, which I think is a neat little highlight on Roz as well, she's published several books and articles, and one of her most recent was she is a lead author of the 3rd edition of the Multiple Sclerosis for Dummies, and also a co-author for the 2nd edition of Navigating Life with Multiple Sclerosis, both of which came out in 2025. So honored to have you join us, Roz, this evening. Thank you.
I'm glad to be here.
Last but not least, I want to introduce Taylor Macy, who is joining us from the Sumaira Foundation. And Taylor is the Director of Patient Engagement for the Sumaira Foundation. A lot of good spirit. I got to meet Taylor at ACTRIMS this year, and it is so neat to have her join us as well. And I hope hopefully you will provide us with a little bit additional information about yourself, Taylor. I'm still learning of who you are in the process here. So Anyway, so lovely to have you all join us this evening. So on that note, I am going to allow Alexis to start us off. So we have plenty of time, everyone, as I mentioned. So please feel free to put questions in the chat box. This is a time to ask these lovely experts with these wonderful organizations. So please ask any questions that you might have. On that note, Alexis, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and hi, everybody. I think you can see my screen, but my name is Alexis Klein. I'm the AVP of Mission Delivery with the Multiple Sclerosis Association of America. I just wanted to say thank you all so much for having me tonight. I'm honored and thrilled to be here to spend even a little bit of time with everybody, especially celebrating MS Awareness Month and NMOSD Awareness Month, and also obviously a big thank you to Kathy and Dr. Mirabale and the whole Brain Health team who invited us to be here today and for everything that they do. So just to get started, I'll give a brief overview. If you haven't met MSAA before, if you do know us, we were founded in 1970. So for more than 50 years, we've been co-learning, knowledge sharing, and collaborating with people living with MS and their clinicians and innovators and care community to make sure we're all collectively working together towards a world where people living with MS have equitable access to care and trusted resources. And so we're just really thrilled to share some more about our programs and services. And I know my slides are a little wordy. I'm now realizing it. So forgive me. And if anybody wants these after, I can send them out. But so these are some of the ways that MSAA supports people living with MS in their care community. We have an MRI access program, pooling equipment program, a helpline, health literacy and health education initiatives, and some shared management resources. And I'll highlight some of these in the following slides and provide some more details. And then there's, I know, room for questions at the end too. So first thing, if you call MSAA, the first people you're going to talk to are helpline specialists. So these are people that have backgrounds in social worker counseling, they're familiar with MS, and they're there to provide information, not just about MSAA's programs and services, but the broader MS landscape of their resources in your network, in your area. And we also have it available in both English and Spanish. If you reach out to us, you can contact us via email, chat, and then phone call. So another one of MSAA's core programs and services is our cooling equipment program and our daily living aid. And so some of those things that we offer for people who are eligible will be things like wheelchairs, walkers, canes. And then we also have cooling equipment for people that experience heat sensitivity. And we've had some really powerful engagements with that. And we know it's been super helpful. We're one of the only organizations that is still able to offer that year round. So you can fly any time of year. And so then we also have our MSA MRI access program. You know, it's one of our most beloved, and I added some quotes in there, and these are things that we get to have shared from our community when they receive or participate in our program. For individuals who are experiencing financial or insurance barriers with accessing their clinician prescribed MRI for disease monitoring or for a diagnosis, MSAA can help some folks do that. And if you check back with us in the next couple months, we'll also have some new innovations to the program so that we can kind of learn about what's been going on and how people have been experiencing and able to approach and receive their MRIs. And so just to read, thank you so much. It's been a big stress for me. We understand that sometimes it's hard to get an MRI. And so being able to do that is really important to us. So we're happy to share that service. At MSAA, we also have our educational programs and health literacy programs. So this is where you might see us out about in the world. We have health education programs in person and online. We do one monthly webinar, which is on a variety of topics. We had one just last month that was focused on journaling and sharing your experience living with MS, and that was really incredible. So love that. And you can find those online too on our video website. We also have podcasts on a variety of topics. And so I'll pop the link of that at the end of this presentation. And some other ways that you can stay connected to us online too. We have a conversations blog where people can go and they can post how they're feeling and kind of connect with community and get feedback from everybody. We have an MyMSAA community, which is kind of like a Facebook, but just for people living with MS in their care community to get connected online. And one of my favorite programs that MSAA does is our art showcase. So if there's any artists here and you're interested, or you just like looking at beautiful art and reading some very cool stories, I would definitely encourage you to go to the art showcase website. It's incredible. We have the most beautiful artists and the most wonderful stories there. And then another online resource we have that you might be less familiar with is the Ultimate MS Treatment Guide. This is a really neat tool, especially for people maybe are newly diagnosed or thinking about what kind of treatments are available. This is a list of all the FDA-approved disease-modifying therapies, and there's short little snip videos in each of those links that is from an expert in MS care, probably some folks that look familiar to you. I think Dr. Mirabale is probably one of those folks. And they just provide a really easy overview of what this might look like, what treatments might be, and you can compare up to 3. And it's just to help share information. So when you're talking with your clinician, you kind of have a full idea of what the landscape is. And then the last little piece that I'll highlight, just if you haven't heard about MSAA's Multiple Sclerosis Implementation Network, this is MSAA really trying to understand what's going on with MS care across the country. We have a really neat community of practice, which means 20 clinicians or experts in MS care or general neurologists are getting together to say, this is what's going on in practice. And it's empowered by people living with MS who are informing the information and the data sharing. They're answering patient-reported outcome measures and really helping us to learn across the healthcare continuum what's going on with clinicians, what's going on with people living with MS, and so that we as a nonprofit with all of our partners can learn together and figure out ways that we can help improve care and make sure everybody is getting access to the things that they need in order to focus on the big important things in life, living and doing the things that you like. And so I know that was a lot of information. That is the Multiple Sclerosis Association of America. I'm happy to answer any questions or talk a little bit more about anything if anybody wants to.
Thank you, Alexis. And I do know your MRI program and the cooling program has been a huge hit for patients with multiple sclerosis. I continuously get patients that are asking about the cooling services, and that pops up on a regular basis. So thank you for sharing. If there was anything that you wanted to highlight in particular, any particular events that might be coming up in 2026 that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I would love that. So I would definitely encourage you to check us out. We do a monthly webinar, and what's real neat, when I see some questions, what's real neat about our monthly webinars is that they're not just on clinical topics. It's just about basically anything under the sun that we hear from our community that says, I'm interested. So definitely check there. Also, if you're in Philadelphia in the fall, we're going to be having a Women in MS Symposium, a nice big event. And so definitely check our calendar for that and we'll be able to share updates. And we're also planning on doing one in Arizona. And so definitely keep your ears open for that. And the last thing that I'll mention too is we have a new person joining our team at MSAA. So I would expect that there's going to be way more in-person programs in the next couple months. And so definitely more to come, but excited to be able to share that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alexis. And I'm sure as we continue here in this session, more and more questions will be coming through. So it's always sometimes nice to have all 3 of our speakers present, and then people weed through what's different for each of your organizations. So as mentioned, folks, please do not be shy about posing any questions that you have.
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question if you allow me to. Alexis, I agree with Kathy. I will say the MRI Access Program is the most, I will say, popular when it comes to conversations with patients because unfortunately there is still a lot of access issues to MRIs. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? So how can patients apply to that? And, are there any questions that patients may be asked in the process? And is that only for the brain? Is brain and cervical spine? And so if you can share a little bit more about that program.
Yes, I would be happy to. Thank you for that question. So yes, the MRI program, there's two pathways that you can take and apply for eligibility. There is a financial income requirement. And so the first steps of applying to the program will be to fill out our application, and we'll go through an income verification or an insurance denial. So if you have been denied from insurance or you cannot afford the cost of the MRI, those would be the two pathways for eligibility. And then once you apply, we'll triage it, and you have two options. You can either be sent to connected with an MRI center that's connected to MSAA, so it's one of our contracted center, and then we'll be able to pay directly to that clinic where you go for your imaging, and it'll go straight through to your clinician. The other pathway is if you are going to the center of your choice, and then you can apply for reimbursement to help cover the cost of that. So after you receive your MRI, the bill will go to MSAA instead of the bill going to you, and will help to cover the cost that way. The program eligibility is every 2 years right now, and you also have the option, it can be brain and C-spine or one or the other, depending on what your clinician prescribes for you. And that is part of the application process too, is getting your clinician to sign off on your clinician form, which is part of the application profile.
Fantastic.
So Alexis, there's a question. Do you provide MRI payment assistance to patients with insurance if they need help with copays, or does that mean they're not eligible?
That is an excellent question. We understand that there's a lot of people that have very adequate, good insurance, but that doesn't help with the cost of MRI. And so no, even if you are and feel well insured, you can still apply to the program. The eligibility will then look at maybe the financial criteria and the denial and kind of what that looks like. Thanks, Rosalind.
Sure.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thanks so much,
And I
Alexis.
know that it's too early to announce, but Alexis mentioned something about stay tuned because there are some exciting news in the horizon that the MRI might come with additional data that is pretty much innovative MRI type of data. So I will say stay tuned with that. We are super excited, not only because that program will continue to allow access to a very important tool in MS care, but now even will come with additional AI enhanced data that will kind of like allow patients in the country to have access to this amazing technology. So I can't say more. I believe it's not official yet, but thank you, Alexis, on behalf of MSAA for working in this amazing partnership.
We are thrilled.
Dr.
Thanks for mentioning that.
With the inside scoop. Fantastic. Well, Rosalind, if we can maybe learn a little bit more about Can Do MS.
Yes, I'm going to share my screen right now. Are you seeing what you need to see?
That's perfect.
Okay, so the only problem is I'm not seeing it. Okay. Hold on. Why am I not seeing it now? All right, well, I'm just going to talk and you move my slides, Kathy. Can you do that?
I don't know if I can, since you're the one sharing it.
So I don't know why I'm not. Usually if I share, I see the slides. So hold on. Let me try something. Okay. Sorry about that. So I'm also thrilled to be here, and it's very exciting to meet my colleagues. Alexis, we send people all the time to MSAA for resources, and so to meet you is really quite wonderful. So I am a psychologist and a certified health coach. I am with Can Do MS. What's most interesting about me is that I started to work in MS at the same time that Jimmy Huga, and I apologize here, at the same time that Jimmy Huga started his journey with MS. So I was a young psychologist in the Bronx. I had just started to work at this MS Comprehensive Care Center, the first one in the country. And Jimmy Huga medaled in the Olympics in downhill skiing. And right after he was a medal winner, he had started to experience symptoms that we all know are early and common signs of MS. So he was diagnosed with MS at age 26 and was told at the time by most specialists that he just needed to go home and rest, and that this was the end for him of all of his physical activities. So Jimmy got pretty depressed. He had been an athlete his entire life. Everything he did wrapped around his body, his physical activity, his prowess as an athlete, and that was his soul, heart, soul, and identity. So when I met him, and he was as cute in person as he is on this slide, he came to the MS Center and he was looking for an answer. He wanted someone to tell him how he could manage his MS or even cure his MS with exercise, diet, and healthy living. And at the time, that's not what he was hearing. Fortunately, at our center, he at least heard that exercise would be good for him, that he shouldn't just go to bed and stop being active, but we had to tell him that it wasn't going to cure his MS. It was simply going to help him feel better. So that was 40 years ago, and he left angry, and he started a program for himself first. He said, I'm not doing it their way, I'm doing it my way. I'm going to exercise, I'm going to eat right, I'm going to sleep, I'm going to take care of my mental health. I'm going to do the things that make me feel good. And when he felt better, primarily because he was no longer depressed, but also because he was keeping his body fit and active, he said, I'm going to make this program for other people. And he started a program in Colorado where he brought people with MS and their care partners to Colorado for 5-day programs in person that were all multidisciplinary. We came from all over the country, and for 5 days, we essentially lived with people. We evaluated them. We shared their stories. We gave them interventions to help them manage their wellness. Now, when I started in 1980 in MS, and when Jimmy was diagnosed, there were no medications, right? So at the Comprehensive Care Center where I was, what we were doing was essentially wellness, because that's what there was to offer. Our multidisciplinary team focused on every area of wellness that we knew about at the time, with every discipline involved. Over time, Jimmy's vision of these intensive in-person programs focusing on all aspects of wellness grew. And we were doing them in several parts of the country, and always for multiple days at a time. And then COVID happened. And 2 weeks before one of our long programs, we had to pivot and turn that program into a virtual multi-day program for people with MS. And we learned 2 things. One, we as clinicians missed the in-person, hands-on experience of meeting. I got to meet with care partners 7 times for 90 minutes over 5 days. I got to know more support partners, care partners, better than anybody had ever had a chance to do it, because our focus was on them as much as it was on their loved ones with MS. But we couldn't do that in person. And so we missed it. But we also learned that by doing them virtually, people who would never have been able to come to Colorado, even though the programs were free, would never have been able to travel there, would have never been able to sustain a multi-day program, and wanted the opportunity to have that same multidisciplinary, intensive experience, but online from the comfort and safety of their own homes. So today, we still have a multidisciplinary team. There is no program that happens at Can Do MS that doesn't have at least 2 disciplines and often 3, so that no matter what the topic is, let's say it's a symptom or a treatment, it's always from the perspective of multiple disciplines, like a nurse practitioner, a psychologist, and a rehab professional, because all those people are involved in every aspect of care. We help people work on goal setting that helps them be successful. We try to encourage people to set their sights small steps at a time so that they don't experience failure or get discouraged. Rather, constructive goal setting that allows them to move toward their goal in a stepwise fashion so they can experience feelings of success. When we do our programs, we meet people where they are. We don't tell them what they need or want or should do. They hear that so often from family members, friends, and even clinicians. We ask them, how are you doing? What are your goals for you at this time? And we offer them multiple ways to connect. Some people want to just come to a monthly webinar. They want the slightly more didactic experience where they can sit and listen. But we also offer multi-day programs online where people can connect with us, but mostly with each other. So our core programs are the webinar Wednesdays. These are free, and we try to address a variety of topics each month. Last year it was pretty much symptom management. This year we're going in a different direction, but the webinar, which is also interactive, sets the stage for the rest of the month. After that webinar, we offer a Jumpstart program where there's a brief recap of the didactic information, but then it's into small groups where people work with clinicians in small rooms and learn from each other. Because they have told us we love learning from clinicians, but boy, we like learning from each other even more. And so these small group discussions form that social connection that people find so energizing and so important. And that's what we hear those personal comments about, Kathy. And Augusto, people talk about, I'm not alone. I just talked to Susie from another country, and she and I are living the same experience, and we are going to talk to each other and stay connected. So they feel validated, they feel connected, and they feel heard. We also have quarterly open Q&A features, which people love because they come and ask any questions they want, but again, always from a multidisciplinary team. And sometimes the same question gets 3 different answers from the 3 clinicians who are there. Very interactive with the clinicians talking to each other as well as to the folks on the call. These are our coaching programs. Now, coaching is a core element of what Can Do offers. In coaching programs, again, multidisciplinary staff, but the coaching programs happen 4 or 6 weeks consecutively, with each week of the coaching program building on the previous week, to keep people engaged and keep coming back for the 4 sessions. And we actually have a very, very high retention rate. And this year, the sleep strategies has a huge number of people registered because sleep is such a difficult problem for care partners and people with MS for different reasons. Eating well with MS, healthy changes that last, and how to manage fatigue. And again, we focus as much, just as Jimmy did, on the needs of care partners as well as people with MS. And for a variety of reasons, every one of these topics is as important for the care partners as it is for the folks with MS. We also have community programs, and this is since COVID, we go out to communities, and what's unique about this is that in each of these communities, we partner with an MS center. So it's the clinicians from the MS center and their patients and other patients that they can engage. And one or two of us from Can Do go to the program, and these are the places where we will be this year. I will be in Oklahoma City in a week. And yeah, I have a couple more of these on my calendar this year. But these are wonderful opportunities to work with the local clinicians, and I have found these again to be very engaging, very interactive, and people with MS and their partners love to come in and participate. At every program we do in person, there is always a breakout room, just as there was in Jimmy's original program, just for the care partners. And it's a remarkable experience. So many of them have never been in a room with other care partners. And when I ask them, how many people have asked you how you're doing? Or how often has the healthcare professional asked you how you are? So many of them say nobody. So for a lot of people coming to these programs, it is the first time as a care partner that anybody has focused attention on them and their feelings, worries, and needs. And it's the part of the program I'm actually most proud of because I think it's so unique. We also have meetups. So care partner meetups, this is something we do a few times a year, and the same people come. The numbers are growing, but they've formed a community, and they talk about meeting other care partners and sharing tips and strategies as well as feelings and concerns. The Black community meetups have been going on for several years now, and the Black community meetups are led by Black MS professionals. And so this community is a little bit of a closed door, and that's the way they want it. We asked them, and they said, yes, we want this just for us. And this past year, we've started newly diagnosed meetups because, as other MS organizations have found, we struggle to get the young newly diagnosed who are busy leading their lives and don't think they need it yet and don't want to be so public or share their issues. But these newly diagnosed meetups have given younger adults the opportunity to safely gather and share as much as they want to, whenever they want to. They can show up, they cannot show up, but they are bonding in these newly diagnosed meetups. And we also have MS Moves meetups where people come and this is all virtual. Every bit of it is virtual. They meet with exercise physiologists or PTs and exercise together, but also have a chance to get together and talk about their challenges related to exercise. How is it working for them? Are they setting goals that are reasonable? Are they feeling successful? And then they get to help each other problem solve around barriers to staying active. So those are our core programs. If I sound excited about them, it's because I am. This has been taking me back to my roots in an MS Comprehensive Care Center in the Bronx 40 years ago, when wellness was what we did, and wellness is what we're doing now. So thank you again, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I am so grateful, Roz, that you just went through all of the programs and opportunities for patients to get involved. And so much of what you said, I think, resonates with us, who focus on the wellness aspect of what is needed for patients, that it goes beyond just their DMTs, that really is looking at a multidisciplinary approach. So I think Jimmy had the right view 40 years ago, where probably he was one of the first to really delve into that mindset of saying, look at what we're looking at nowadays with brain health and all the important pillars of brain health. And it applies, I think, beyond just patients with MS, but for so many neurological conditions. So,
Jimmy really said that what was wrong with the medical community was that they were focused on what people can't do or couldn't do anymore. And what he felt was you have to focus on what you can do. And if you have to adapt the way you do it, that's what you do. And he skied until the week he died, right? He found a way to stay on the snow because that's what he wanted. And that's because he was at all his programs modeling this. That can-do attitude of his, really, you could just feel it in the room. And that's what we try to get across with folks,
And it not only frames the approach and the attitude in a different, much more positive way, look at abilities and not disabilities, right? But also, if you think about it, it was the basis for the whole neuroplasticity research. We know that when you challenge a function, even if it is a function that has certain limitations, but if you keep trying to do that, that's how you force your brain to rewire itself so it can accommodate the request that you're actually asking the brain to do. So, in a sense, that can do attitude not only allows people to have a positive outlook in life that has all these psychological benefits, but actually, from a physiological standpoint, is the basis for improvement.
So Jimmy actually sponsored the first study on exercise in people with MS. They did it at the center in Colorado, and the first outcome was that it didn't kill anybody. So once they demonstrated that exercising actually didn't kill a person with MS, they then built on that to say, what are the benefits? And what they found was reduced fatigue, improved mood, improved sleep, and that set the whole ball rolling for all the research that has come since on the benefits of exercise and physical activity.
Absolutely. So, Ross, I'm amazed also by the amount of programs that you have and the emphasis on multidisciplinary care. For the coaching sessions, do you have a cap or a limit of how many patients can enroll?
No. Well, I shouldn't say that so glibly. Mostly, we know which topics are likely to generate greater interest, like we know that fatigue does, and we know that mood and cognition. So we have more coaches available. Our goal is to have coaching rooms that are no larger than 18 people. In my choice, they would be 10, but we have to accommodate. And so then we have more coaches available so the rooms don't get too large. But we don't, to my knowledge, ever cut off applicants. So anybody who's interested in the coaching topics for this year, you sign up once and you're signed up. So you can, for all the webinars, you only have to register once. For the coaching programs, you register for each one that you're interested in, but please get on board and register.
And I assume, Roz, that if somebody was interested, they can just go onto the Can Do MS website, and they'll be able to access all this information and register for programs and events.
Yes, the whole yearly calendar is up now, and people can register for any programs that they want.
Fantastic.
Yep.
I just learned a few new things about Can Do MS this evening as well, and wow, so great! Thank you for sharing this with us.
My pleasure.
Well, Taylor, it's so great that we have NMOSD patient organization as well, but it's not just NMOSD. I know it goes beyond that. So, Taylor, if you can maybe shed some light on everything that the Sumaira Foundation does, because I am very aware of the fact that the Sumaira Foundation is not just a US organization, they are a global organization and are doing just absolutely incredible things as well. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Taylor, to
Sure, yes. I just am so excited to be here as I get my screen shared here. We're going to go into presenter mode. I have learned so much already from Roz and Alexis. Thank you so much for the time that you've put in and what you've shared. I just feel so lucky to be here amongst you all, and I'm so excited to share about the Sumaira Foundation, or as we refer to ourselves, TSF often. So you may hear me say that as I share a little bit about us. This quote is something that drives a lot of the work that we do. A rare disease may also bring rare gifts: perspective, resilience, creativity, compassion, connection, and love. Now, obviously, NMOSD and MOGAD are rare diseases, and MS might not necessarily be considered a rare disease, but I believe that this is applicable to any disease state that you want to be able to learn from and grow from. And so we keep this in mind as we grow our organization and increase our work around the world. The genesis of the Sumaira Foundation began with Sumaira Ahmed, who was diagnosed with seronegative NMO in August of 2014. I believe she was diagnosed, Augusto, you would probably know this, but I believe she was diagnosed at MGH. Is that correct? Massachusetts? Okay, so she was diagnosed there and had a really rapid diagnosis process, which can be more uncommon in diseases that are more rare, like NMO and MOGAD. But she took it and ran like the wind. As far as me, I am also a seronegative patient with NMO. I was diagnosed in October of 2019. At the time, I was running a life coach business and I had a podcast. Once I was made aware of Sumaira, I said I must have her on as a guest. So she was a guest on my podcast, and we just hit it off from there and have had such a great friendship and working relationship ever since. I am not any Olympic athlete. I'm not Jimmy Huga, but I love Olympic lifting. So I feel like that makes me cool to say like, oh, I'm an Olympic lifter. Like, does that mean I've been to the Olympics? No. Does it mean I'm strong? No. But I do like the Olympic lifts, the clean and jerk, the snatch. I like CrossFit. As a life coach, I'm also a nutrition coach. I did my undergrad in exercise and wellness. So Roz, hearing all about your programs just tickles me.
Hey, Taylor, you have somebody asking what is NMO, so
sure. Yes. Sorry. Sometimes I jump in and forget myself. NMOSD stands for neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder, and it is a rare demyelinating disease that affects the brain, spinal cord, and optic nerve. NMO has historically been misdiagnosed as MS, and so many MS patients or patients that were originally diagnosed with MS were later found that their actual diagnosis was NMOSD or NMO. They, at this point, can kind of be interchangeable, or at least I will use them as such and as I share more about our foundation. Our foundation represents rare neuroimmune diseases. So that is NMO and MOGAD, which I will say it and you will never have to repeat it or remember it, but it is myelin oligodendrocyte glycoprotein antibody-associated disease.
Hmm.
Um, and that always excites me when I get to say that because I'm sure I'm going to mess it up. But we represent those two diseases as well as things like stiff person syndrome, CNS vasculitis, myasthenia gravis. Any type of rare neuroimmune condition is something that we have support for. Uh, I will be referring a lot to NMOSD and MOGAD as I'm sharing a little bit more about our foundation. But yes, any other clarifying questions, please jump in and make sure that I am held accountable here. After Sumaira was diagnosed, she read this quote: "There was a flower in her heart, it just needed more room to bloom. And when she let it free, she showed the world that sometimes the most beautiful things can grow in the darkest of places without the need of light." So, with that, 2 months after her diagnosis, she launched TSF. She launched us as a nonprofit to raise awareness and ultimately to advocate for herself and then other patients as well. And her mission with this foundation was if she could help at least one person, then it would be worth it. And I have been one of the people that she has helped. And I know, having worked with the foundation, that there have been hundreds and thousands of people that have benefited from what TSF has to offer. A little bit about what we do and who we are. We are dedicated to raising awareness of NMOSD, MOGAD, and other rare neuroimmune conditions, building communities of support for patients and their caregivers, supporting research and advocating on behalf of patients. We operate under 4 pillars of awareness, community, advocacy, and research. We are very adamant that we are patient-led, patient-powered, science-driven, evidence-based, and therapy agnostic. TSF's icon is a pink Gerbera daisy, which symbolizes admiration, adoration, or high esteem. Our mascot is a unicorn. We use that because we want to commemorate a 6-year-old patient who lost her battle to NMOSD in 2019, named Joanny Rios. And our official colors are pink, orange, and marigold. We believe at TSF that diversity is a superpower, and we believe this is well reflected in our International Medical Advisory Board, our Global Ambassador Program, our multi-language content and programming, our local country organizations. I'll get a little bit more into that as I continue, but we value diversity immensely. It's very important to us. We are, as Kathy mentioned, an international advocacy organization. We have our website available in 27 languages, and I must be missing a slide. We have our website available in 27 languages and have ambassadors from over 33 countries. We have shared 190 stories from patients, caregivers, and clinicians. We've produced 140 plus webinars and podcasts in 15 languages. We've developed first ever interactive therapies chart for FDA approved NMOSD treatments. Like I said, here we have ambassadors globally representing 30 plus countries. We do patient days. So we have organized 22 patient days in 5 countries since 2022. We also fund research, and we are very, very involved with advocacy, and we have proclamations secured in 40 plus states to recognize NMOSD and MOGAD awareness months, and are developing more and more resources for patients as time goes on. The team involved at the Sumaira Foundation, this is our core team and our board members. This is our medical advisory board. We are very richly represented and continue to connect with clinicians, patients, and caregivers throughout the world, and are able to understand patient experience, clinical experience, and better provide resources through what we're able to learn. These are our industry partners. Without them, we would not be able to do what we do. So we are very grateful to them. These are our community partners also, who make our work so much easier and help us spread the word and help us increase in our advocacy. As I mentioned with our ambassador program, it is very important to us that we are a patient-centered organization, and we hope to implement that in clinical settings, in caregiver settings, in policy settings. Oftentimes, the hierarchy of patient care starts with pharma or clinicians, and it's important to us that we work with patients at the center in a collaborative effort in order to make the most difference and to make sure that everybody feels heard and advocated for. TSF launched its ambassador program in 2019 with 10 patients and caregivers. As of March 2026, our program has expanded to include 125 representatives from over 30 countries, including patients, caregivers, and clinicians across several disease states. So I know, Roz, you discussed, and Alexis, just talking about caregivers and how important they are in the world of patient care, and they are often the most invisible. We might have an invisible illness, and the people caring for us can be even more invisible. And so we prioritize them just as much as the patients to ensure that they are getting the support and care that they need to be able to do what they need to do for those that they are caring for. So as you can see here, we have patients that are ambassadors, caregivers, clinicians, scientists, and researchers, and advocates. So we have a lot of different voices that are able to help us understand what things look like on a day-to-day basis and how to better serve populations that are in need. So this is kind of a breakdown of our ambassador program in terms of how many people make up what different categories. We have 4 pediatric ambassadors, which is just absolutely incredible. These are the things that we value amongst our ambassadors. Just some good qualities. We'll skip over that. Again, just more things that are important to us in terms of what we look for in our ambassadors. These are a number of our Canadian and US ambassadors who have just allowed us to grow immensely. Here are some of our European ambassadors, and we have ambassadors from Latin America as well as Africa and Asia. We are growing everywhere and are just so thrilled to see how often we are getting applications for people wishing to be ambassadors. I think that people in our rare disease community are ready to go to work and use their disease for good and to help others be able to not suffer. And it is a really beautiful thing to get to watch so many people come together when something so difficult can be happening. An important part of what we do at TSF is our patient and clinician education. So we have a number of different resources on our website, as well as podcasts, webinars. These are some of the ones that we've done over the years. This is a really important part of our work. This is a brochure that we hand out at all of our patient days that we have available on our website that just takes everything there is to know about NMOSD and MOGAD and distills it down to the plain language. I am not a scientist. I'm not any type of medical person. So I like things to be in plain language. I'd like to be able to understand it. I'd like to be able to explain it to my 6-year-old. That's kind of my test. Can I explain it to a 6-year-old? If not, then we gotta reevaluate how we're explaining these things. So like I said, this is available and is a great resource for anybody that's been recently diagnosed or any caregivers or clinicians that might be less familiar with what the world of rare disease looks like. Again, we have more resources to allow for patients to interact with their doctors to be able to make a contribution to their clinical care so that they can be a part of shared decision making rather than feeling like they don't have a voice in a clinical setting. We have a number of different productions that we've been a part of that we are really proud of. This was a short film that was submitted to the World Health Organization Film Festival, and it was selected out of 800 submissions and won some awards, which was very exciting. This was just referencing a piece that was done on PBS. Again, here's Sumaira here. I want to say this was done in 2024. I'll have to check with Sumaira, but that just kind of illuminates a little bit about what rare disease is like. We offer support group meetings. So there are a number of different areas that we kind of attack in terms of support, whether it's teen and young adult, whether it's mental health, whether it's accessibility. There are a number of different things we cover, including in a lot of different languages. So we like to be as inclusive as possible and as global as possible to really accommodate anyone that might encounter a rare disease like NMO or MOGAD. We have many wellness-focused initiatives. Obviously, these are closest to my heart. I mean, that's hard to say. A lot of this is close to my heart. But coming from a wellness background, I'm always really delighted to see people getting involved. Roz, I know you can appreciate this, but just focusing on whole health and looking at as much of the picture as you can in order to help patients and their caregivers have the best quality of life possible. So we're proud to offer those. One of the things that we love to do that are the best parts of our foundation are our patient days. So these are some of our locations that we have been at over the years. We get to meet patients in person and hug them, and diseases can be so isolating, and these patient days are so powerful as a way to connect and feel seen and heard, and also just to see that there is movement happening. There are changes in the rare disease world. There are changes in just the world of demyelinating disease. I know MS, having been at ECTRIMS, was really, really incredible to see all of the things that are happening 24/7 for these diseases. So it's such an incredible thing to be a part of. This was a patient day that was in Copenhagen at ECTRIMS, I believe. This was Beijing. These were all of our 2025 patient days. So here was our Salt Lake City one. That was my hometown. And these are where we have been so far in 2026, San Juan and Honolulu. We have many more patient days coming this year. Off the top of my head, I know we will be in LA and Rochester, Minnesota, and Miami, and I'm blanking. All of these are listed on our website. So if anyone here has a rare neuroimmune disease, has NMOSD, or knows someone that might, you can check our website for patient days. It's the best part about our foundation. We have a digital app that allows patients to track their symptoms, which I find is incredibly helpful when sometimes I just it feels like homework to do it. This makes it a lot easier as a patient to be able to track symptoms, to relay to my own neurologist. We also offer pediatric patient support in the form of care packages. Any patient under the age of 18 gets a free care package. This is something that I like to send to neurologists or to family members, just to say, hey, if you know someone with a rare neuroimmune disease, let us know. We will send them a free care package. We have a patient advocacy coalition. It's very important for us to learn the unmet needs in patient populations, where there are gaps in care. And so we have this as a way of helping us be aware of where we need to advocate. This is a guide that we have for navigating insurance and access barriers. I don't care what disease you have. If you have one, this can be a problem. So we put a lot of emphasis on how to navigate some of those obstacles that we face. We also make an effort to look at the unmet needs in the middle, lower income populations so that we can serve a wide range of patients, those with and without insurance, those who might not have access to clinical care. The more of us involved, the more we were able to help serve all communities, and that's something that's very important to us at TSF. We also do illuminations in order to continue to raise awareness for TSF, and also to create more awareness around the Sumaira Foundation. So this was in China. We had this on a billboard there. These are some of our other illuminations that we have had across the world. We've obviously got Niagara Falls, the Zachem Bridge in Boston, the Empire State Building, Michelangelo in Florence. Pink is Sumaira's favorite color, and so why not light up some of the biggest buildings in the world in pink, just for kicks and giggles, right? So that's something we love. This is just more patient advocacy and global policy advocacy. This is our Belgian ambassador that was doing some advocacy work in Europe, which is just so exciting to see. We also are keen to make people aware of patients' assistance programs with copay assistance, things like that, because it can be a difficult thing. It is in the United States only, unfortunately. And then we also have a research side of our foundation. We have 2 grants that we offer, one for adult and one for pediatric research in rare neuroimmune conditions. Since 2018, TSF has funded 1.3 million in research grants, fellowships, and academic journal publications. This is a little bit about our fellowships. This was a specific fellowship recipient. Oh, and then another thing that we do that can be really impactful, that is really special to me, is we help clinicians in lower income areas to be able to publish their work. There are people all across the world, doctors that are doing research, but they can't afford to pay the $3,000 to have their work published in a journal. And so we help fund that to be able to get more research out into the world so that we can better take care of patients. We also have research summaries. We have someone on our team that will take these types of journal publications and distill them down into my own brain version, the plain summaries that actually make sense when I'm not a doctor or a smarty pants necessarily. In 2024, we received a $250,000 funding reward from PCORI to help with research agendas, toolkits, and promote patient-centered comparative effectiveness research. And then the next year, it was announced that we received a $9 million funding award from PCORI to conduct a 5-year comparative clinical effectiveness trial of rituximab versus the other brands of NMOSD approved therapies. So this might not necessarily be applicable to MS patients, but I know that there is some overlap with the use of rituximab and Rituxan. So I think there will be something to learn for all of us. Again, this just kind of goes over what we'll be comparing. These are more of our research initiatives. And then this is just a picture of a celebration of TSF turning 10. And we will be 12 this year. This was in 2024. So we are just so grateful to do what we do. This is where you can find us. And now that I have been talking a million miles an hour and have shared 1,000 slides, I'm going to pause and stop sharing. And that is just a real crash course on everything about TSF and NMOSD.
Taylor, fantastic. I am always just absolutely blown away what Sumaira has managed to accomplish in a relatively short time frame with her global outreach. And that if anybody ever has the opportunity to meet Sumaira, she is a ball of energy and is just a go person. Truly remarkable. So as you can see from everything that Taylor was able to present to us, they've done, the Sumaira Foundation has really done a lot. So incredible organization. There was a question that came through that I think is worthwhile asking. So a question around, is the Sumaira Foundation only for neuro diseases? And she says that a sister of hers has 2 rare autoimmune diseases. Would it be appropriate to refer her?
Yeah, I mean, it can't hurt. I think what Roz said, right? Like doing exercise, it didn't kill him, right? I'm like, oh, okay, that's a good mentality. It can't hurt. And honestly, with the breadth of resources that we have, even if it might not lead to, necessarily a direct diagnosis with NMO, I think there's so many resources that could potentially point them in a useful direction.
Fantastic. Well, again, I am thrilled that we have had this opportunity to have all 3 of you highlight what you do through your organizations. The 3 of you are my favorites, so there was a little bit of personal bias. There's other wonderful organizations out there as well, but you folks truly have done some really remarkable work with the patient populations, and I always am so thrilled when I get to hear feedback from patients that have been able to utilize, your services and programs and have been to patient events that you have put on. So a huge shout out to all 3 of your organizations for your remarkable work. And it's just such an honor to be able to highlight what you're doing as part of this month as we bring awareness to multiple sclerosis and NMOSD and other rare diseases. And Roz, yes, you were raising your hand.
Just a comment to the audience. Thank you for being here. And if any of this information was useful or exciting or whatever for you, share it with your healthcare team. Because I think one of the challenges we have is that the healthcare teams who are very busy with DMTs and MRIs and don't have time to address wellness aren't necessarily referring people to us, all of us, to offer what we can offer. So you can help us and help other people with these diseases by letting your care teams know that we're good resources and that they should be referring their patients.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Rosalind. Thank you for bringing
Sure.
that up. Excellent. Well, and if there are any additional questions for anyone in the audience regarding what was covered today or wants more information from about Can Do MS or MSAA or the Sumaira Foundation, folks are always welcome to reach out to me, and I can share the information outwards and make sure I connect the dots for folks. So
Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of this evening with us. Our next conversations on brain health will be on April 13th. So hope to see everybody back for that session. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Have a
Take
good
care,
evening.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.